The River Thames is one of the world's great waterways. For 2,000 years, it has been the lifeblood of London, nurturing the city that has grown along its banks. And today, it is still very much a working river, with tens of millions of journeys over and along it every year. But it's about to undergo a change like never before. There is a plan for an audacious engineering project, the likes of which this city has never seen, which promises to transform London's skyline for good. The plan to light the River Thames. 15 iconic bridges with a combined span of 2.5 miles spread over 5 miles of river. In this series, I will follow the ins and outs of this extraordinary project.
Charlie, tell me when you've got hands on.
And see exactly what it takes to get something this ambitious off the ground.
This has to work.
If you were to close the bridge, £2 million for 20 minutes.
£2 million for 20 minutes.
A project on this scale will be pitted with challenges, from public scepticism.
I would like to understand why you want to colour the bridges.
To unforeseen delays.
I don't care if somebody else's project in another part of the world has to wait a bit. You know, how will they prioritise us?
And with the Thames home to an array of endangered species,
See, look there.
oh my God, protecting the fragile ecosystem will be paramount.
Fish don't like light.
Right, so
they use...
this is really not good. And with the big switch on happening this week,
Well, we had an undress rehearsal that didn't go so well. It's going to be fine, Charlie.
can the artist behind the project pull off the feat of turning the Thames into a river of light? I'm Charlie Luxton, and like most people, I love the bridges that span the mighty Thames. They are an incredible showcase of the very best of British design and engineering for the past 150 years. So when it was announced that they were going to be subject to one of their biggest makeovers since they were built, well, unsurprisingly, the whole concept has been under an enormous amount of public scrutiny. Last week, the team had a visit from the city planners, the people with the power to decide if the project can proceed.
At the moment, we're only lighting the deck from this side, so the level is higher.
And they got their first look at the lights to make sure they don't dazzle passers-by.
Why do they seem brighter at this end?
I was going to say this end.
It will, because of the angle.
Each of the 4 bridges had one arch lit for inspection,
That's not good, is it?
but the test highlighted a serious issue.
We're being completely blinded by the lights under London Bridge. It's not a pleasant experience, actually.
And the project needs the city planner's approval to continue.
So, how have we done?
At the Illuminated River Foundation's office, project director Sarah Gaventa has received some feedback from the inspection.
We've just had some kind of email comments saying that the brightness on London Bridge, which none of us were comfortable with, it was far too bright for any pedestrian walking underneath the bridge. There are a few little tiny things that we need to tweak, a few fittings that aren't quite working as the way we hoped. The city planners gave us 8 out of 10, which I'm kind of happy with. But it means we can carry on and complete the rest of the bridges.
The news couldn't come at a better time. The big switch on is in just 6 weeks. But before that, there's a race to get the bridges up and running, ready for Leo, the lighting artist, to take control. And he's due in from America any day.
Slowly. Right, just got a small loop now.
Are you still enjoying it?
Yeah.
Yeah? You
Yeah.
look a little tired. It's the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
time I've seen you looking tired.
It's been a long week, but we've got a lot of detail sorted out this week. So, from here on in, there shouldn't be that many issues that we come across. There, I said it.
You did, didn't you? You better touch wood.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing it move forward. But like any construction project on this scale, issues are always around the corner. The lights are almost all fitted and powered, but the data cables which allow the computers to control the lights need to be hooked up and working too, but they aren't.
One little snag that we're dealing with at the moment is we're just having a bit of an issue with the data cable running on along the upstream graze light fittings. We've got a bit of a break in the data cable somewhere, so we're just running checks through at the moment.
Just we've got a break in the fibre somewhere.
The only man on site able to fix the fibre optic cable is electrical engineer Barry. More used to having his feet firmly on the ground, he's having to abseil to the problem cable 30 feet above the river.
How you with heights, Barry? It's so bad. Get used to it. You're looking after it.
Sometimes you just have to get the right man to fix the problem, even if you have to drag him there. But over on Millennium Bridge, work is waiting to begin.
So this is one of the strangest jobs you have to do when working on a bridge in central London. If you want to dangle over the side of the bridge, like Steve, Angel and Ian want to do, you have to hang a bale of straw off the side to the same height that you're going to work, according to bylaw 36.2.
This genuine bylaw is to stop passing riverboats from colliding with whatever or whoever is dangling from the bridge.
And that makes it okay to hang off a bridge. Don't say it's not a weird country, because that's quite weird.
The race is now on to get all the work done in readiness for artist Leo Villareal to start programming the lights.
We are behind in terms of the dates we thought that they would be, but you know, which project, you know, if you're doing a kitchen, you never get it done on time. And then Leo arrives in 5 days, so this will be his first visit of the first of the two kind of sequencing visits.
Currently 2,000 miles away in New York with his team of programmers, Leo's had to do all his work so far on computer-generated models.
A lot of the lighting on the bridges in the Thames is somewhat haphazard. A lot of it is not functional. So I think our plan is to restore that in a way that is very well engineered and very well designed, replacing the existing lighting with more energy efficient and durable LED lighting, but then adding an additional layer of movement, which is what the LED allows.
The Illuminated River project is an ambitious £45 million scheme to light 15 of London's most central bridges. The cutting-edge LED technology will be subtly sequenced to change in colour and fade in and out to Leo's artistic vision. In the first phase of the project, 4 of London's bridges will be given a new lease of life. London and Cannon Street bridges are to have lights that reflect the movement of pedestrians, vehicles and trains. Southwark Bridge will have slowly shifting lights that accentuate the beautiful arched metalwork below. And the Millennium Bridge will realise the original idea of becoming a blade of light spanning the Thames. While the work to get the lights ready for Leo to program presses on, I'm taking a chance to see one of my favourite bridges like I've never seen it before.
So I'm very privileged, actually, because I've been allowed to poke around and explore inside London Bridge. So currently we are inside the downstream arch of the mighty London Bridge, the one that opened in 1973. And it has got the most fantastic acoustics. It's quite an extraordinary experience as you walk through the arches. You feel a bit like Alice in Wonderland, sort of as the spaces get smaller and grow as you move through these bulkheads. And the other thing that I love is that you can see the imprint of all of the grain that was used to make the timber formwork back in the day, and some of the nails that we used to build up the timber framework to fill it with concrete.
The bridge was designed with these voids, which allow for repairs and maintenance. It's a concrete labyrinth where you're not quite sure what lies around the next corner.
Whoa, whoa. That's fantastic. So I've now come up between the two main structural elements. Thames below us. I mean, it's a really secret, hidden space that I imagine very few people know about. The other thing that you really realise when you get up close to a structure like this is the scale of it. I mean, everything about it is vast, and it's very easy to lose sight of that when you see it in the context of the city. But when you're down here, you can't help being impressed by its heroic scale.
Bridges have always held a special place in people's hearts. But to my mind, they are far more than just romantic walkways. For me, the real excitement lies in their design.
Now, if you ask someone to draw a bridge, they're pretty much always just going to draw an arch. And whilst we all know what an arch bridge is, and it's the kind of thing you've known all your life, actually there is something quite magical about the way they work. So I'm going to just use Blackfriars Rail Bridge to try and explain what I understand about how these wonderful structures work. So what you've got are a series of large stone piers set in the river. And over the top of that, you've got a deck, which is where the railway trains run. But crucially, you've got an arch, a series of arches spanning over the river. Now, when you put load on that bridge, you've got weight pushing down onto the bridge. And what you need to exert is an equal and opposite force up through the piers to support that bridge. Now, the really clever thing that an arch does is it takes this force and it pushes it sideways. As the middle of the bridge tries to push down, it starts to push outwards because it can't go straight down because of this arch shape. And then the curve of the steel directs that load down into the base of the pier. Now, obviously, at the base of the bridge, you get a horizontal thrust, but you've got other arches pushing back to balance that. Now, crucially, and the way that bridges like this have worked forever, is that everything is in compression. The weight is here is pushing down into compression, which is pushing down the arch into the base of the pier, which is in compression down onto the base of the river, into the bed of the river. Because old materials couldn't take tension. That is why the arch bridges work for so many thousand years. It's all in compression. It's kind of like a clever sort of judo move of bringing the force of the weight on the bridge down and across and into the ground. There's something magic about this simple, efficient form.
The Illuminated River project know that if they're going to transform the capital's bridges, they're going to have to win the hearts and minds of the general public who use them. Now, it may be privately funded, but people still need to feel that it's worth the £45 million price tag, money that arguably could be spent elsewhere.
Well, my first thought was that there's quite enough light in London at night, and you don't really need to illuminate it anymore at all.
London is a glitzy major city. I think that's a lot of what people come to London for. It's a place to work, but it's also a place to visit and enjoy. And I think the lights are part of that investment.
What if I told you it was costing over £40 million to do?
Well, that seems ridiculous.
I can't really comment on the relative cost. The figures are astronomical. But it's something to look at and something that feels nice in an exciting city. I think it's probably a good idea, yes.
Now, with 4 weeks to go and publicity for the project gaining momentum, Leo, Sarah, and the team have to hope that when they finally switch the lights on, the public will not only like what they see, but think it's worth it.
If I was to tell you it cost in excess of £40 million.
Quite. I'd rather have the garden bridge.
In just 5 days' time, Leo Villareal will be arriving in the UK to start programming the 69,000 light nodes that will transform 4 of London's greatest bridges. It will be a seminal moment in this epic project, which, when finished, will give nighttime London a brand new look. With less than a week to go until the American artist touches down, work is flat out to get all the data cables installed and the bridges back to normal.
Last year, over 19 million tourists came to London. And for many of those visitors, a trip down the Thames was high on their to-do list.
And what better way to get a look at the most famous bridge of the lot, and arguably the most iconic symbol of London. In 1876, the City of London Corporation held a competition for the design of a much-needed new river crossing downstream of London Bridge. The Victorians didn't do things by halves, and over 50 ambitious and sometimes outrageous designs were submitted.
But the design that won was this one. And it has since become one of the most iconic and recognisable bridges anywhere in the world.
Costing just over £1 million, that's roughly 132 million in today's money, the bridge took 8 years to build, but became an instant London landmark. The Illuminated River project is intending to leave Tower Bridge until last, and for good reason. They want to bring all their experience from lighting all the other bridges before they approach the most symbolic of them all.
There's something incredibly theatrical about this bridge, and not just the flourishes and details. Its very shape with the walkway and the two towers. It is something like a giant stage set. And over the past 100 years, it has been used as exactly that by a whole host of daredevils and performers.
From early parachute test jumps, motorbike flips, to height-defying pop stars and Hollywood movies. The stars have been lining up to perform with the iconic Tower Bridge backdrop. And who could forget David Beckham's joy as he kick-started the London Olympics? But for me, what goes on inside the bridge is just as exciting.
Wow. Look at this. What an incredible space. Now, this is one of the bascule chambers that sit right at the base of the two main towers of Tower Bridge. Yeah, bascule is a funny word. It sort of roughly translates as seesaw from the French. And you can actually understand how the bridge works. It hinges from that point, and these giant sort of metal planks hinge like that. And this is the curve. The entire roof of this space hinges down. The whole thing hinges down as the bridge opens. So that is the underside of the deck of the bridge, and you can actually hear the rumble of traffic as it runs over the top. And what's quite amazing is that at high tide, the level of the Thames would be up, sort of well over my head, yet this is pretty dry. I mean, it's just engineering on a wonderfully grand scale. Fantastic.
When originally built, it was steam power that lifted the road. The bridge wasn't the first to do this, but was the biggest bascule bridge in the world. From visitors to internet streaming cameras, the world's eyes are on this bridge 24/7. Manager Chris Early knows all too well the difficulties the project may face when trying to light one of the world's most famous bridges.
A lot of existing lighting on the bridge itself at the moment, isn't it? Now, the history of that it's a relatively recent installation, isn't it? The majority of the artistic lighting.
Yeah, prior to 2012, the bridge was lit with floodlights, so it was a very basic lighting scheme that was to pick out the architectural features of the bridge. And then just before the Olympics, we got some fantastic news that we'd be hosting the Olympic rings. But in addition to that, we got a fantastic lighting system. But even though there was lots of talk then about the legacy of the system and it would last for 25 years, it's not been as robust as we would have liked. And here we are now, a number of years later. And there are regularly parts of the system that fail. There are always, with the nature of LED lighting, because they come in strips rather than single lights, if one goes out, you know, you'll notice 20 gone. And then to replace those, to do works on that, is quite complicated. We need road closures for certain elements to be replaced, sometimes river closures and span closures on the bridge for certain parts of it to be replaced as well.
So what's to say the new lighting won't fail and fall into disrepair like the current lights on Tower Bridge? Well, as part of the strict planning permission, the project has had to guarantee that they will repair and maintain all their new lights for at least 10 years. Broken and missing lights should become a thing of the past.
Right, I have made my way right up to the very top of the North Tower of Tower Bridge. Very few people get to come up here, which is a shame because that is an incredible view. Now, I'm going to be honest with you for a second because I used to be slightly dismissive of Tower Bridge. I sort of thought it was a bit of Victorian flim-flam. But now I've had a chance to really look around and I'm blown away by it. It is the most incredible feat of 19th century engineering. But there is no denying the role that this bridge plays in the global consciousness. Everybody knows it. And therefore, lighting it in a way that is beautiful, respectful, and crucially lasts, well, that is a challenge.
It's almost 3 years since work to light the Thames started in earnest, and now the Illuminated River team are closing in on their first big deadline. The team of 180 men and women are on one final push to get the last of 8 kilometers of cables added and the final set of the 69,000 light nodes installed, a task that has taken over 9,000 work days to complete. When done, artist Leo can start the 4-week job of programming the lights to get them ready for the big switch on. But there is one bridge that is proving far more tricky than the rest.
We all assumed that Millennium Bridge was going to be probably one of the easiest. Unfortunately, that hasn't always been the case. She's thrown a series of challenges at us from day one. Nothing superfluous.
So the angle grinder hasn't been a big...
Unfortunately, no. We're not allowed to touch anything. We can't modify anything, as you would imagine.
Just a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, well, no. No, we've behaved ourselves, despite wanting to on a few occasions.
Well, that's good. So carry on.
Absolutely, I better get on with it. I think you need to come and help us finish off.
Yes. Here comes another tube.
Here comes another tube.
Right. That's in the first phase. The whole of the other side has been done, and the whole of this side has been done. There's literally just these last few units to go in. I got it. I got it. There we go. It's very satisfying to know forevermore when I walk up this side, this little light here. Well, I put it in place. I fitted it. It's quite satisfying, that.
And dangling below, the last junction box has been placed.
Well done, mate. Well done. Hopefully we won't come back to this one because it'll work first time.
And the team can celebrate hitting their deadline.
So get yourselves in between these 2 lampposts and we have some bumps on the wall. Just sitting on the wall.
When it's all lit up properly, it's going to be quite a sense of achievement by everyone. Probably one of the most iconic jobs I'll probably ever be involved in.
Okay, so everybody looking at me, please.
So I've heard there's like 200 million people going to see these lights. We better make sure it's wired up correctly then. Yeah. No pressure.
3, 2, 1.
But finishing the installation isn't the end of the work for some. Before Leo arrives, the next step is to make sure the lights are angled at the bridges correctly.
Are we looking okay?
It's a bit too high, I think. That's not bad. I still think it could go a tiny bit lower.
Slightly between where we are and the ones in the middle between us.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense at all, I think.
With Leo not here yet, I think I might have a go at lighting a London landmark myself. I mean, how hard can it be?
Hello. Are you able to put a different colour on for us? What colour would you like?
Well, I would like, can you do green?
Can you do green?
Whoa.
What do you think?
I think I preferred the sort of pink.
Yeah, me too.
I think we should go back to pink.
We're all agreed. I'll leave it to Leo.
There we
There
go.
you go. It's voice controlled.
This is easy.
In a few days' time, renowned American light sculptor Leo Villareal will be arriving in London. The task ahead of him is to program the 69,000 LEDs on 4 London bridges to realise his artistic vision. And in 4 weeks' time, his masterpiece will be revealed to London. Leo is the latest in a long line of artists who have drawn inspiration from the Thames. From Whistler and Turner to Canaletto and, of course, the beautiful, impressionistic work of Claude Monet. I'm taking this opportunity to learn more about why London's great river has been such a consistent inspiration to so many artists over the years.
Beautiful building, isn't it?
And to do this, I'm meeting up with one of Britain's most prolific contemporary artists, Stephen Wiltshire.
Okay, Stephen, I think this is us.
We've come to the 6th floor of the Savoy Hotel, where Monet once painted his most famous Thames scenes.
That's a view, isn't it?
Very nice, incredible.
Stephen and I have come to try our hands at capturing the view that the French Impressionist loved so much.
Which way should we draw, do you think, today?
Starting at the Royal Festival Hall, London Eye in the middle, all the way to Houses of Parliament and Big Ben.
Okay. Right, there's a chair over here. Should we get that in place? Right. Get yourself comfortable with that. I'm going to sit over here.
At the age of 3, Stephen was diagnosed as autistic and didn't learn to speak until he was 9. It was soon clear, however, that he was gifted with an incredible ability to draw. And now some of his panoramas can sell for in excess of £100,000.
Drawing's always been very important to you, hasn't it, Stephen?
Yeah, very important.
What age did you really start to draw?
About 5 years old, drawing the London landmarks, Big Ben, Houses of Parliament.
Stephen also has an extraordinary ability to remember intricate detail. And he's drawing today after only a quick glance at the view behind him.
You're not looking around and cheating, are you, Stephen?
No, of course not.
Despite being born 130 years apart, there are some wonderful similarities between Stephen and Monet. Both had their prodigious talent spotted before their 6th birthdays. Both prolific painters of the London skyline, Monet painted this view from the Savoy more than 100 times. And despite having different styles, both artists are renowned for their incredible eye for detail.
Have you got any boats in yours?
Yeah, I've got some boats in there.
And when Monet went blind towards the end of his life, he amazingly, like Stephen is today, painted from memory.
Come and have a look. I sort of ran out of time, and I sort of was going all right here, and then it's got a bit sketchy over there.
It's sketchy. The Houses of Parliament is...
should be over there.
It should be over there, because I know it's very artistic, so...
Architectural sort of shape of rendering.
I think it looks better.
Yeah, I think you're right. Thank you for the lesson. Should we have a look at yours? Oh my gosh. So you looked at that view for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
And then you've drawn that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. You've got the cars on the side.
Yeah.
Buses on the bridges.
Yeah, the bridges.
God, you've done that so well.
Yeah.
Well, that's incredible.
Yeah,
that's an amazing skill.
Pleasure.
Amazing skill.
After years of planning, Leo has finally arrived in the UK and is already down at Southwark Bridge. But despite the effort of the team to get all the lights ready, on first impressions it seems some of them aren't working. With limited time left and the summer nights getting shorter, I'm sure this is not the start Leo was after.
Well, we have the lights installed in the right location. So right now we have crews over there pointing the lights, which is also really important.
Yep. So I can see there's a couple of lights not working, and there's one that's slightly flashing. Is that just all part of the teething kind of?
You know, we're debugging now, and we can't put a curtain over it and do our work and then unveil it. You know.
Yeah, I can see there's people over there with flashlights and climbing gear, changing the lights.
Just have to embrace that part of it. Still, even with it in its partially installed state, I still can learn things about what eventually will work.
I like Leo's optimism. With just weeks to go and short nights, he's going to need to work hard to get the bridges ready. Leo is using a state-of-the-art, bespoke piece of software specially written for the project. It gives him the ability to control each light node to the desired hue, color, and brightness.
We still can control each one and create different relationships. So in some cases, we're moving light across, in different directions, and that's what I'm working through right now. So I can again turn these layers, off and on. The light is moving from outwards in across the piers.
So sort of expressing the sort of depth of the structure as well, because it really comes into vision, doesn't it? You really get beautiful colors, actually.
Well, this bridge is, it's so striking, and this kind of teal color that it's painted is very specific. And I just love this bridge. I mean, it's just so beautiful. Every rivet, I think is gorgeous. So picking up the light and the way when it rakes across, you see each little detail in a way that you didn't really see before.
It's not just visual artists like Leo who have been inspired by the Thames. Over the years, composers too have fallen for London's great river, and perhaps none more than George Friedrich Handel with his 1717 masterpiece, Water Music. Commissioned by King George, it was not only inspired by the Thames, but was actually first performed on the Thames. In an outrageous display of showmanship, a 50-strong orchestra was floated down the river with Handel himself conducting, as the delighted king and his flotilla floated behind. In the spirit of Handel, but with a modern twist, the Illuminated River Foundation has commissioned music to accompany the river's new multi-million-pound lighting installation. Students from the Guildhall School have been invited to compose a piece for each of the 4 bridges, and if chosen, will feature in a special app, allowing users to hear the composition when close to the bridge. Today, the school's orchestra are tuning up. They're about to record a track by 22-year-old Sam Dinley. He's taken inspiration from Cannon Street Bridge and the adjoining railway station, where he's recorded live sounds to enrich the piece.
When I first did my research into Cannon Street, I found out that the name of Cannon Street was taken from Candlewick Street, which is a street nearby where the candle makers used to work. I decided to take this as inspiration as the introduction of my piece. So let's take a listen to that. So this is kind of representing the start of the bridge's history being made. We then kind of bring in these electronics, this synth sound, which then kind of brings in the string section. So this section, the violins are kind of playing this chugging part, which I wanted to kind of imitate the sound of an old steam train kind of chugging along. So I've come down a couple of nights this week to kind of see the motions of the river and to watch the tide. I've never really realised how big it is, and I'm hoping to replicate this in the brass. They're playing these big crescendo chords, kind of becoming more intensified. This is to represent the sort of ebb and flow of the Thames underneath. Okay, so in this section, there's this constant sound of metal being hit. And that was to represent the site of a medieval steel yard where the bridge was built upon. We're now getting to what I think is the climax of the piece, where we introduce this ticking sound to represent the modern working day, the importance of time for the workers that use this bridge every day in the morning and the evening.
The collaboration of all these creative minds is one of the things that really excites me about this project. But now, in the final countdown to the big launch, I'm heading back to one of London's most famous bridges to see how Leo is getting on.
Hello, Leo.
Hey.
How are you?
Excellent.
Fancy seeing you here at 10 o'clock on a Monday night.
Yeah, after nearly 3 years of thinking about it and simulating it, doing all the stuff to finally get to sit in front of the bridge with the actual lights and to be able to control it is pretty incredible. So it's kind of exciting to be able to work with something that, this stunning bridge, right? And to be able to bring it to life.
How many hours do you think you'll be staring at this before you're happy?
As long as I can withstand it. I'm on a nocturnal schedule, and I'm just waiting for the sun to go down and working as much as I can till it comes up. So.
The lights are now all up and running. And as I watch Leo work, there is a surprising animating effect that the new lights have on the bridge.
I think it's pretty astounding. I really like it. I think it's beautiful.
This is a good sign.
Yeah, it's a good sign. No, I genuinely think it's...
Yeah.
Well, I know, because Anthony Carroll talked about the bird in flight was a real inspiration for it, wasn't it? And I've always loved that concept, but when you move the light down it, you really feel it. It's really dynamic in a way that obviously it isn't so much in the day when you see the whole bridge.
After nearly 3 years of hard work, planning and installing the thousands of lights to our bridges, the creative responsibility now lies on Leo's shoulders. There is now just 1 week to perfect the look of London's great river at night. It's taken the Illuminated River project team and Leo years to get to this point.
Hi, Eric. How are you doing? Good, thank you.
In planning and instigating one of the biggest changes to the bridges since they were constructed.
So it's 15 bridges in central London.
That's really nice.
They've had to build vital relationships with international companies while trying to keep all the authorities happy.
Yeah, this is no good, is it? We're being completely blinded by the lights under London Bridge. It's not a pleasant experience, actually.
I'm under scrutiny here.
And all the time navigating the fragile wildlife issues.
It's just down there. Obviously, we can't work above, below, anywhere near her.
I've discovered some amazing history of our beloved bridges.
It's a model, but it's so evocative. You can almost sort of smell the life, animals, people. Wow, look at this. How do we move? We push? Hey!
And managed to access some in a way I never knew possible.
Inside London Bridge.
This is going to be attached to that thing.
After a race to get the bridges ready for Leo.
Right by the water.
It does get quite close.
And with concerned residents keeping a close eye on the project.
We're hoping the colour schemes that we saw maybe won't look as bright as we fear they'll look.
It's now up to Leo to get it right for the big night. Coming up next is the launch event. How it's received by the critics and public alike will all be revealed at the big switch on.
This has to work.
On Wednesday evening this week, the moment finally arrived. It was time for the big switch on. This is the start of 500 guests coming for a reception at the Guildhall for a couple of hours there, and then we're going to make our way down to the river, get on a boat, and turn on the lights. And I've been involved in this project for just under 2 years, and I'm nervous. So I cannot imagine what it's been like for the team who've been working on it for 3, 4, 5 years. And the thing about a public piece of art is that you can't hide it if it isn't any good. It's out there. After 3 years of planning for this day, project director Sarah Gaventa is, not surprisingly, feeling the pressure.
Are you excited or nervous?
Completely anxious. I really want it to just be over, to be quite honest.
Have you had a dress rehearsal and how did it go?
Well, we had an undress rehearsal that didn't go so well. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine, Charlie.
Have you seen it on yet?
No.
No?
No, I've seen sections of it.
Yep.
And they better come on.
Yes.
They will come on.
For Sarah, work is not quite over. She needs to get the guests from the reception venue down to the river. And to make the 1 mile journey, she's commissioned a fleet of double-decker buses. But there's a problem.
We're here now. Where are you? I would be laughing if I weren't crying.
Due to a communication breakdown, one of the buses seems to have gone on a London by night sightseeing tour. And on board is Leo, the light artist.
Who would think that the bus conductors thought they were doing a scenic tour? Well, anyway, it was the one thing. Never mind. I so want a drink.
Without Leo, they can't turn the lights on. Eventually, the bus and Leo turns up.
Did you go on the scenic route or did you come direct? On the scenic route.
Scenic route.
Oh my God.
With everyone on board, the boat takes its position downstream of London Bridge. And the city awaits the big unveiling. At 10 o'clock on the dot, the time has finally come.
So in a moment, we are going to light these bridges with these buttons here. And I'm going to ask Sarah Gaventa, Hannah Rothschild, and Leo Villareal to join me in pushing the buttons that will light up the 4 bridges ahead of us.
It's taken years of planning, hundreds of people, miles of cables, tens of thousands of light nodes, months of hard graft, and cost millions of pounds to get to this point. But now they're just a button push away from changing London at night forever.
4, 3.
Finally, the new look Thames at night is revealed, and each of the 4 bridges, Millennium, Southwark, Cannon Street, and London, are resplendent in their new colours. While I've seen pictures of it on computer screens, while I've seen little sections of the bridges lit at different times in doing the testing, to actually be here on the river and to see 4 of these bridges lit up right down the Thames, it's wonderful. It's really a wonderful thing. I love what it's doing to Southwark Bridge. It just makes Southwark Bridge look so three-dimensional. I think it brings out the real beauty, actually, of Cannon Street Bridge, which is, funnily enough, underneath those concrete collars, a stunning bridge, and this really just sort of emphasizes the flat, linear quality of it. And it's lovely to see the train moving across and the light gently pulsing, and the colors. You can see the slight change in the colors. Actually, the colors are rather beautiful. I hadn't quite appreciated that would happen, that you would get this
incredible layering and actually the way that the light would sort of interact bridge to bridge to bridge. Is that something you were sort of all over from the beginning, or has this sort of evolved as you've been through it?
I mean, we knew that you'd be able to see one to the next and that they would stack up in an interesting way, but it is beyond my expectation. That layering, and there's also a sense of synchronization. So each bridge is sequenced on its own, but then there are these moments when they all align.
Sarah, tell me, how do you feel?
I feel really relieved. I mean, the lights went on.
Do you like it?
Well, looks, yeah, I love it. I mean, you know, I'm the wrong person to ask, right? But everybody else seems to love it. But it's wonderful. You know, I'm really, really happy. I'm really happy.
Slightly relieved.
I'm very relieved.
Excellent.
I don't have to go and hide in the toilet, which is really good. And, you know, now I'm just moving on with the next 5, you know?
The amazing sort of dedication and focus on the prize. I think it's been an incredible achievement.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think there was a concern that by lighting 4 and eventually 15 bridges with a single lighting scheme, it might somehow lose the individuality of the bridges, but it's done exactly the opposite. Somehow, what Leo and the team have done is bring out the character of each of the bridges, almost make you see them in a new light. I really like it. The people on the boat really liked it. And now I think it's time for the people of London, the people of this country, to come down here, see the lighting, and fall in love with these bridges all over again.